Truly African. Truly African.
You're welcome to the only show that brings you happenings from the diplomatic community in Ghana and also around the world. My name is Harriet Nartey. The show is on Pan-African television every Saturday, and we are also broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube, and we are in 46 African countries. Wherever you are, you can access this program and many other programs to know what is happening on Pan-African television. Today we are talking about Australia. Now, Australia has been in the news for all the wrong reasons after a former employee allegedly accused the High Commission of unfair treatment and human rights abuse. Now, during the week, a press conference was held by the complainant as she detailed events that preceded her dismissal at the High Commission. According to her, she was laid off after she refused to accept a grade lower than what they had agreed on for her re-engagement after her resignation in September 2021. Under the High Commissioner, Gregory Andrews. She joins us on today's episode to help us understand her side of the story as she seeks justice. Also joining us on the show is Esther A Armah, the CEO of the Institute of Emotional Justice, to share her view on emotional justice, workplace environment, cultural empathy, and its impact. We will be back right after this break. Please stay.
Hello, information.
Madam,
Me, I have still not got the money for that list of expensive building materials you sent to me. The price of the iron rods have been increased too much, aren't
Madam, relax. Look, that's not why I did call. I just visited IPCP, where the engineers told me everything about Trasacco fast floor.
Trahuako, please, those people are expensive. Are they not the people building those big houses in town? I beg going to
Madam, in fact, I used to think the same until I visited their office today, and they gave me an estimate of how much it will cost. No, the estimate is free. It's cheaper than the one I even sent you.
Wow.
Building contractors, foremen, masons. Visit IPCP, the Trasacco Fast Floor. Engineers will assist you build an affordable, faster and stronger building.
Oh, madam. It is done.
Wow.
Trasacco Fast Floor. Stronger, faster and affordable.
This is a Trasacco construction product.
Welcome to Camp Trading and Farms Limited. We are the sole importers and distributors of FM World Rulong Plus combined harvesters. We are the sole importers and distributors of FM World combined machines. If you buy from us, spare parts are readily available. Our machines can pick and harvest logged rice as well as standing rice and is 102 horsepower. FM World tractors also have 110 horsepower, which is fully hydraulic and can break hard grounds. Our rotavators is also 102 horsepower. It works perfectly in muddy areas and in lands where tractors cannot operate. World combined harvesters come with automatic gear drive, diesel power engine, 1.77 cubic grain storage tanks, 2.2 meter curtain width, 360-degree unloading pipe and sunshade, as well as 2 diesel filters. Our branches include Tamale Airport area, Accra, Ritz Junction. Kindly call us on 0278 223 811 or 0550 108 899, as well as 020 1600 727. Don't buy fake, buy original. Buy from us now. Come Trading and Farms Limited, your best importers and suppliers of FM World Roll-On Plus Plus combined harvesters.
Welcome back, welcome back. The show is Diplomatic Affairs. My name is Harriet Nartey. This is the only show that brings you all the happenings from the diplomatic community in Ghana and also around the world. Today's show promises to be a very interesting, informative, and highly educative. I must say, though, that it's a very sensitive and highly controversial issue, but we got this. This is why we are here. So we will be sharing everything that will be happening right here on the show with you. So like I said, join us on Facebook and YouTube. We are beaming live and we are in 46 African countries. So wherever you are, send me your messages regarding this particular issue and I will read all of them right here. My guests are already seated, so I'd like to introduce them to you and then we can cut the chase and just get to it. So I'm happy to have Mercy Catherine Agyabeng. Mercy Catherine Agyabeng is a communication specialist, gender advocate and writer, currently pursuing masters in gender, peace and security at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. She's the founder and editor of Discovery Teen magazine and Discovery Teen Foundation and has authored 2 amazing books, Understanding English Literature and the Discovery Teen magazine. Her encounter with diplomacy started when she worked with the Australian High Commission right here in Ghana. Now, until Monday, 8th August 2022, Mercy was the Public Affairs and Events Manager at the Australian High Commission and doubled as the High Commission's gender focal person on the UN Development Partners Gender Equality Sector Working Group. Her role involved supporting the work of the policy section, including promoting Australia's profile in West Africa through organizing public diplomacy events, managing the High Commission's website, social media liaison and networking with key interlocutors and representing the High Commission. All right, so that's a lot there, I must say. But we'll break it down for you later. We'll come to the main dish right here on the show. And of course, I am also fortunate to have one of my favorite persons in the world joining me today. What an honor it is to have Esther in here. Esther A Armah is the name. Esther is a Ghanaian woman with a global outlook. Now, she is the CEO of the Armah Institute of Emotional Justice, an international award-winning journalist and a playwright speaker. Her new book is #1 on Amazon's new release. She was the distinguished activist in residence at the New York University's Center for Black Visual Culture and has a prominent column in Ghana's Business and Financial Times. I read that often. Esther has worked and lived in Ghana, London, New York. Her work in journalism, commentary and content has appeared on all Ghana's major media houses. What an honor it is to have you two on my show today. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Finally, I've been doing this trying to ask you to appear on the Famous Cafes for how long, Esther?
How long have you been doing the show now?
For the past 4 years.
Maybe as long as you've been doing the show.
Yeah, I know. And Mercy, it's rather unfortunate we've had to meet in, this circumstance. Mercy is one of the persons that I admire so much. She works behind the scenes, when she was working with the Australian High Commission right here in Ghana. She was the first to actually introduce us to the High Commissioner of Australia, and that's Andrew Barnes, yes. Right? So she was the first person we worked with at the Australian High Commission, and we enjoyed, her work because she guided us. She held our hands and walked us through what to do, what not to do. And so, my admiration for her, has always been intact. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Harriet.
Now, right, so before we talk to my Mercy and Esther, I have this clip that you need to see. When we come back, we will begin our conversation. Take a look.
On my last day, an Australian member of staff at the High Commission hounded me out of a building, treating me with disrespect, a lack of humanity, and a lack of professionalism. And what I mean by this is that after I had handed over all office property in my custody, I was practically prevented from even packing my stuff into my bag, saying goodbye to my colleagues, and using the washroom. I certainly protested. I went to do all that, and then I called upon the senior administrative officer to intervene. Can I have my brief sound as I left the Australian High Commission? I am pursuing the following recourse. I'm using media advocacy to stand up, speak up, and tell my story. I don't want my story to be adulterated or doctored, and so I'm telling my own story. It is also for my personal sanity and my healing. As an advocate, a human rights advocate, we keep telling people that speak up, stand up, and fight against any such maltreatment or violation of your rights. I can't do less than what I preach. I am also petitioning relevant institutions to bring this to their attention. I will also employ any legitimate means to seek redress, including the courts of law. I must say that I am shocked and appalled by the Australian High Commission's treatment of a Ghanaian employee who has served the Commission with commitment, diligence, and enthusiasm. I am appalled at the Commission's disregard for their own commitment to respect and culture, given the length of their relationship to Ghana and Ghanaians. And this is my call to action. In sharing these details, I request the following action from the Australian High Commission: an apology, a receipt of compensation at the level agreed for my re-engagement. The Australian High Commission prides itself on being among the early missions in sub-Saharan Africa. It prides itself again on being one of the first countries to recognize Ghana's independence in 1957. In its treatment of a daughter of a Ghanaian land and a former employee, the Australian High Commission has fallen foul of its own high standards. Its commitment to professionalism, humanity, and cultural respect. This is unacceptable. It can, however, be remedied by swift, clear action, and I look forward to such. And so this is Justice for Mercy, an Australian High Commission. Why? I keep asking that question. Why would the Australian High Commission treat me that way after devoting time, energy, resources, including my vibrant work network, to place the Australian High Commission on the cutting edge of diplomacy? It is on record that my work at the High Commission has given it a very good reputation as far as Ghana is concerned, and in fact, a reputation as far as the government of Australia is concerned, and that is a DFAT, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. And the question I keep asking myself is why? Why? And if I don't speak up, I don't clear my sanity, and I don't get my healing, it may be something else.
Right, so you're still watching Diplomatic Affairs, and this is our assignment for today's episode of Diplomatic Affairs. I call it a Herculean task, but I know we are up to the task because we will get to speak to this complainant who is allegedly accusing the Australian High Commission right here in Ghana for unfair treatment and human rights abuse. Mercy is already seated, and I have Esther with me. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Harriet.
Thank you.
How are you doing, Mercy?
I'm very well, thank you.
You look very well.
Thank you.
And Mercy, Esther, how are you doing?
I'm here. I'm blessed. You know, the sun rose. We woke up. We give thanks. We start there.
Right. So let's cut the chase and just go straight to it. That was you in the clip. This happened, I mean, over the week.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I had another assignment, so I personally couldn't, come another invitation. But my able team was there to support the cause and, of course, also put together the video for us. And so I've seen that you are in the news, a lot of publications, almost everywhere, Ghana Web, all the major media houses have published this particular story. Now, briefly, I know we don't have all the time. Briefly, tell us how did you get here? How did you get here? Because I know that you've always had a good relationship with the High Commission. So how did you get here?
Thank you, Harriet. So that's a big question everybody is asking. So September 2021, I officially resigned from the Australian High Commission after working for about 3 years and 2 months, because the then environment for me under Gregory Andrews was quite confrontational, because he was in a lot of administrative and diplomatic breaches, and it was making my work too difficult. So I officially resigned. I had an exit interview, and management actually asked me not to make it public in order to support whatever challenges the High Commission was going through. I obliged. January 2022, there was a new charge because Gregory had been recalled to Australia, and they came begging me to return to the High Commission.
So the underlying word here is beg.
Begging, pleading, and I stand by that, and they know it is true. Obviously, initially, I was shocked, I was stunned, and I didn't want to. But they kept, putting pressure, and they told me that, yes, my position had not been replaced. I hadn't been replaced, despite the High Commission advertising and then conducting interviews. So, under Leanne Johnston, when I was promised that the environment was going to be more corporate, Leanne was a more senior person, a more experienced, blah, blah, blah. So I obliged and I went back. But when I went back...
Leanne is the...
Chargé d'affaires.
Okay, right.
But she has since gone back.
Awaiting the High Commissioner.
Yeah, the substantive High Commissioner. And so I went back. But going back, my role was changed or modified. Previously, I was the Research and Public Affairs Officer. But then with the engagement and agreement, they wanted me to be the Research Affairs and Events Manager. And so I had taken on more responsibility. Now I was going to be supervising somebody. And obviously, the agreement was that it will reflect in my pay package. And I told them that I did have offers, which were better than what I was being offered. However, because of good faith, good relationship, and other things. Plus, Leanne mentioned that she had worked with Andrew Barnes. And Andrew Barnes is a High Commissioner that is loved by Ghana. Many people love him, and his wife, Teresa. And these are my favorite High Commissioner and the wife. So, obviously, I obliged. I went back. I started working. I kept asking, so what? Oh, we will finalize it. We will finalize. And they started paying me on my old level, which is level 5. And we had agreed that it will be regularized. And if you have worked in places before, you know that these things happen. You have an oral contract. It takes some time. So I kept reminding them. They said it will happen. Eventually, Leanne had to leave in May, 26th of May. And so I recall having conversations with her and then sending a mail for reference on the 13th of May that I needed her to regularize everything before she left because I didn't want the new High Commissioner coming in. It was not pleasant. And she said, okay, she would do what she had to do. And she had delegated the Senior Administrative Officer to do other things that have to be done. But she left. But because she had given her word, I was hoping that things would be done. But I wasn't happy. I wasn't comfortable about the silence again. And so I kept pressing. It was on the 13th of June that the Senior Administrative Officer and the Deputy High Commissioner, who was now chargé because Leanne had left, she was now the acting High Commissioner, they asked me to agree for us to do a temporary employment document because they admitted that it was an administrative lapse for them not to have any documentation. And I said, yes, this is unacceptable. So we had this temporary work engagement. Now, for purposes of records, the SAO or the administrative officer can only has delegation to give employment for temporary employment for only 3 months. And so they had to do that to cover 2-3 months because the financial year also ends in July. And so it was supposed to end in August, by which time the new High Commissioner would have assumed office, everything would have been regularized. Few days after we did this, I was told that, well, headquarters has approved your employment. I was happy. They gave me the contract. I looked at it. It was level 4. I said, hello.
Instead of level 5?
No, beyond 5, because I exited at level 5.
Okay.
Came back
so
and
you were
took
hoping
on
to have been elevated
to
a higher grade.
I said, level 4? No, this is a demotion. I am not taking level 4.
From 5 to 4?
Yes. After I had taken on all those responsibilities. And within February to July, Harriet, the deliverables that I have done, physical events I have organized, virtual events I have coordinated, interlocutors that I have engaged, everything is on record. And I've been managing the Facebook account as well. I mean, part of my role as a social media manager. I assumed office on the 7th of February. 8th of February, I was already into motion. Go to the Facebook pages and check. I was like, no, I can't take this. This
7th February 2022.
This is a demotion. So back and forth. I was expecting us to talk about it, talk about my exit if possible, and then, but that is not what was happening. I wasn't being engaged. I wasn't being engaged. And that is what made me feel that, no, there's some exploitation going on here. Because if you are giving me a cold attitude and a cold shoulder, it means that there's no room to talk about anything. So I personally wrote to headquarters in Australia, and I complained. And I gave every information about what I have narrated. Headquarters told me that we will address it. We have referred it to the department that is responsible. I didn't hear anything. I sent a reminder. I didn't hear anything. The next thing I was told was that, well, we have been advised that we can extend your leave so that you can end your contract earlier. And so, per their estimation, I was supposed to have my contract ending on the 8th of August because I'm a contract worker. And that is what infuriates me.
Have you always been a contract worker?
I was never a contract worker, Harriet. I was a permanent worker who resigned. I didn't come in as a contract worker. Now, unfortunately for them, the records of our HR records show, I mean, if you're a contract worker, the number of days that you have. But in our record, the number of days that I have does not show that I'm a contract worker. And so since when did this issue of being a contract worker come in, that your contract ends on the 8th of August? And they were actually pushing me out before the 8th of August because they gave me an offer. And everything I'm saying is documented, is on record, that I could end my contract earlier than 8th of August and still get paid for the few days of leave that they were going to offer me. And that whatever I did, I should know that my contract ends on the 8th of August. I told them that I wasn't taking that offer. And if it was leave they wanted me to go, no problem. I have a number of leave days. So I took 9 days leave. I took 9 days leave to resume on the 8th of August. So that's what I did. Now, even before I left, and this is also on record, if you are a gender person, you know what it means that work is being weaponized. The volume of work with unreasonable deadlines that I was giving, you have no idea. And I took the leave, and once I am on leave, who does the work? And so the programs that should have come off, they are suspended because I was on leave. And no engagement whatsoever. And by this time, the new High Commissioner had resumed office. She's in office as I speak now.
This was before you proceeded on leave?
She came
before you went on leave?
Yes.
Right.
And all these things had been happening. Find out if she has engaged me. No. There hasn't been any engagement between me and the new High Commissioner. As to whether it is deliberate or she was prevented, I don't know. But till date, the new High Commissioner has not engaged me. I mean, she's the head of mission. She definitely has been briefed. She knows about this. The only engagement I have had with her is a mail from her when I was on leave.
So you didn't get the opportunity to meet her in person?
It isn't not having the opportunity,
what
Harriet.
happened?
Well, she's in the same building. I'm in the same building. She knows what is going on. She knows where to find me. She hasn't engaged me. Before her arrival, per our rules of engagement, we need to do a lot of research and other things for the new High Commissioner. I have done a lot of research for her. Things that she needs to do. All right. And so she knows about me. She's met all the staff. She's met my department. There hasn't been any engagement, save that mail she sent me when I was on leave, that they are going to set a committee to investigate. Okay. That was it.
Now, I would find out from you if the committee has been set and whether you have been engaged or not. But let me also state that I have had the opportunity to speak bar test with the High Commissioner designate because she's yet to present her credentials to the President. She's done open letters with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, so she's yet to do her credentials. So she's still the High Commissioner designate for official. This means that she's not taking any official responsibilities, nothing yet until she's done that. So I will come to you, Mercy. Now, I am interested to find out whether a committee has been set and whether they have engaged you as, you know, the email you received from the High Commissioner designate. I'll come back to you. Now, Esther, how is, you are here to talk about emotional justice. How is that tied in all of this? Just briefly, to understand and appreciate what your office does.
What is crucial for us to understand is to put what Mercy is going through in the context of two cultures that every mission in this country is about. So whether it's Australia, Canada, US, UK, no matter the country, that mission has dual cultures. The culture of the nation that it is home to, and the culture of the nation that it is in.
Right. So the host country and then the
exactly.
All right.
That means you're engaging and dealing with two cultures. How you move, how you manifest, how you engage is about a respect and an honoring of two cultures. Diplomacy is not devoid of accountability, and that the standards that every mission has are about the respect for culture, the acknowledgement of humanity, and what it means to bring cultures together and honor each other and engage with respect. So the question is really very simple. To what extent has Australia honored what it says it means when it talks about an acknowledgement and a respect for human rights when it comes to culture? Emotional justice is about engaging the host country, in this case Australia, to ask a very specific question. Have you, according to how you define what matters in terms of your treatment of Ghanaians, honored your own word, your own deed, and your own mission? Have you done that? In what ways have you done that in this particular case? The reason why I say that it has to be put in the context of the mission as a total space and beyond the individual, because we have to recognize that individuals work within systems, and a mission is a system. It's a structure. And emotional justice is a framework about how to make structures more equitable, more respectful of the cultures they engage, and how human beings move through culture. So the questions are much, much more simple.
Right.
Would you do with an Australian what you have done with a Ghanaian?
Okay.
Would that be acceptable if it was done to you in this space? Is it behavior that you would accept, that you would respect? And then the final point is to say that the challenge of diplomacy is to recognize that it cannot take refuge in unaccountable power. Sometimes what happens, and something that we work with a lot with emotional justice, is what is your relationship to power? In other words, can you harness the machine of the structure that you work with to deal with someone, whether it's to maltreat them or to privilege them? And in what ways does that honor who you say you are? So what I'm saying is very simple, that diplomacy is not devoid of accountability, and that any mission must ask itself, to what extent does this behavior reflect the values that I say, that we say we honor when it comes to the nation that we are working in? Can we say that with authority, with honesty, and with integrity? And if we cannot, then the next step is to not do what often happens with these scenarios, which is to take refuge in silence. The next step is to say, very simply, what does accountability look like? What does respect look like? And what does justice look like in a scenario where the power of the media has been used to expose an allegation of wrongdoing? How you then engage that wrongdoing also then becomes symptomatic of what you say your culture represents. So emotional justice is about saying and engaging and working with organizations, with structures to say, honor who you say you are in the workplace, irrespective of the culture that you're engaging with. But recognize your culture is not a single culture. You're navigating more than one, in this case two, an Australian culture and a Ghanaian culture. My very last point is that my introduction to the Australian High Commission, which I didn't know anything about what it did or what it stands for, my introduction was through Mercy.
Right.
Mercy is somebody with network, with power, with connections across media, across gender advocacy. And so part of what happens sometimes is, particularly with diplomacy, is there is an assumption that you can deal with an individual believing that you hold a power and you don't recognize the power that they may hold. And that the moment you recognize or that power, particularly in the form of exposure or the court of public opinion, you then start to rally or get nervous. The thing to really do is to stand in the accountability of what has happened and to take steps to ensure that it doesn't happen again, and to not take refuge either in silence or in avoidance or in blame.
Okay, now I appreciate what your office do after listening to you and then taking this into context with regarding Mercy's issue. I have someone that I would want us to speak with. He's already online, Professor Kwejo Apieje Etua, and I don't know if you know him, but he is a heavyweight in the diplomatic circles and of course the legal luminary as well. So he does a lot of, we do a lot of consultations when we have to with him. So I'm ready if Prof is ready to speak with us pertaining this issue. Is he online already? He's online. Okay, Prof, it's good to have you on Diplomatic Affairs.
Thank you for having me.
Right. So I know by now you know the issue, what we are discussing in the studio on today's episode of Diplomatic Affairs. So if you've been following us, clearly, what do you think is the best approach? And what does this mean, given the fact that Mercy is not a diplomat, but a local staff? What does this mean when it comes to relations between Australia and Ghana, or Ghana and Australia?
Well, if the facts as have been disclosed what it is, then there's been a serious breach of the contractual relationship that the Australian embassy has with the lady in the center of it, Ms. Agyabeng, because the diplomatic premises are not supposed to be used to commit illegality, even though it enjoys inviolability. And so there is not a dichotomy between illegality and inviolability. The fact that the premises are not subject to the local laws in a lot of ways does not mean that it should be used to commit such violations of labor rights against an employee. And so if you look at the employee relationship, there's definitely a situation where if you look at first of all, the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, it deals mainly with immunities. And so in this context, the diplomatic mission is clothed with some immunity from being taken to court in respect of civil jurisdiction of diplomatic affairs. However, the rule is that when it comes to relations between an employee of the embassy or the High Commission, then we have to go to the UN Convention on Jurisdiction of Immunities, Jurisdictional Immunities Convention. And that one is what should be used to deal with this matter. First of all, looking at the terms of the agreement between the two, that is the High Commission and the employee, their terms will determine where a dispute will need to be settled in case there is disagreement. And then where that is not forthcoming, then we resort to the UNCJI, that is the UN Convention on Jurisdictional Immunities. And Article 11, for example, deals with contractual relationship between local staff and an embassy. And that is where I think the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should have come in. Normally when there's issues like this, I don't know where the agreement says disputes should be settled, but most often it will say that either in the receiving state or the sending state. If it is the receiving state, then it means that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will have to play a major role in this. So the employee is supposed to report to the ministry, and for the ministry to intervene and negotiate so that there will be an amicable settlement. Where that is not forthcoming, the victim will have the opportunity to go to the Labour Commission or the court itself. But ultimately, any of these two institutions will still have to come back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, because that is where the dispute needs to be settled one way or the other. So for the ministry to be silent is just unfortunate. It is strange. Normally that is not done. And so there is something that needs to be done to make sure that the ministry will be forced to react and to come to the aid of Mr. Agyabeng. And that is where Mr. Agyabeng can proceed to the NLC or the court. And the court will have no choice than to refer the matter back to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration.
Okay, then. Prof, thank you so much for your time. We are very grateful, and for the sake of time, I wish we had all the time in the world to engage you further, because I still have some follow-up questions. But unfortunately, how far do you think this issue can go? Okay, unfortunately, we've lost Prof there, but so that was Professor Kwadwo J. Etua, and he's in the diplomatic circles and, of course, the legal space as well. So he's one of our go-to persons, and we are very grateful for your time. Now, Mercy, I wrote a few things down when Prof was talking. He talked about protesting to the Foreign Affairs Ministry. Did you engage the ministry in any way?
I have reached the ministry.
What's the outcome?
I'm yet to get a solid outcome.
From the Foreign Affairs Ministry?
Yes, and I intend to engage them another way. Yes.
When you say you intend to engage them in another way, how was the first approach like? Does it mean that, did you go straight to the ministry? Or because as I listened to you narrating the exchange of emails between you and then DFAT, you mentioned that you had copied the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. So there hasn't been any response from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. So you're still waiting to hear from them?
No, I'm not. I'm going back to them.
Okay. You're going back to them per petition. Okay, that's fine then. And now let me ask Esther, like I said, this is Mercy has allegedly accused the High Commission of Australia in Ghana for unfair treatment and human rights abuse. Let me also state that I did my homework by speaking to the appropriate offices. I engaged the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, relations. I asked because I needed to know how we could go about this professionally and, of course, diplomatically. So I spoke with someone from the Foreign Affairs Ministry. I also engaged, like I said, I spoke with the High Commissioner designate, the new High Commissioner, Australia. I sent her a message and she responded. She was very polite and said they wouldn't want to comment now because she's yet to go through the official process of being acknowledged and recognized in the country, but they would take care of the issue at the right time. So I spoke with her as well and engaged a couple of other stakeholders, that are involved in the issue. Do you think, are there many Mercies, are there many people out there, local staff out there? We are talking about relations between missions, foreign missions, and local staff. Are there many people that you might have gone through this and couldn't come out to even speak or say anything about this out there?
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
What makes you think so?
Because some of them have reached out to me since the press conference. And that was, for me, it was a media advocacy that I set out to do, to, like I said, speak for myself and tell my own story. I didn't want anybody to tell the story and doctor it, so I had to put it out there. Plus, it was my experience, and I'm the best person to talk about my experience, like I said, for my own sanity and for my own healing. Again, I'm an advocate. I tell people, speak up for support, and there was no way I wouldn't practice what I preach. And people have reached me and shared their stories And I was surprised. I was surprised. There are others, and a lot of them, they don't want to say anything. And I didn't just get up to go to the media. If this thing had been resolved amicably, with respect and dignity, I don't think it would have come this far. But the fact that, you know, Esther talked about accountability. When you're dealing with an entity and the entity thinks that they can hide behind non-accountability or immunity, which is overrated, you tell yourself that, listen, there are many avenues. I could have just gone straight to the court, but you need to have documentation, you need to report, you need to... I have reached people that should have intervened for an amicable solution. And so when it is not being done, you just realize that this is complete labor exploitation, this is a human right violation, and people, or here the entity, is not living up to its own high standards. I mean, I've worked with the Australian High Commission, and in many of the press releases that I do, we say that Australian High Commission, Australia, prides itself in human rights. It's been on the Human Rights Council of the UN. And what it means is you are defending human rights everywhere. It's a domestic and a foreign policy. So hello, these are your standards. They're rules of engagement. For DFAT, for Ghana, and for international relations, you must respect all these. So if you're not respecting them, and all you are doing is just to, you know, brush the issue aside and give me an offer of an option to end my contract. In the first place, I'm not a contract worker. That was never the conversation. And there are records to prove this. So why would you... And I am shocked at the level of dishonesty. That is what kills me. That is what kills me. Because it's total dishonest. And you know, staff was informed that I have informed management that I was leaving to other opportunities. Where did I say that? And I questioned management that this is misleading, this is misrepresentation.
Well, you have records of all the exchanges between you and then the Australian High Commission here, and of course the DFAT as well, right? Now, Esther, I have one more question for you, but before I come to you, I'd like to ask Mercy, do you think a committee has been set up? Where are we with the committee? Have they been able to reach out to you?
Well, it was only yesterday I had a mail.
That's the latest development?
Yes. No, that's not. That's the latest. The earlier latest is that, you know, we are paid fortnightly. And so the last 2 weeks that I worked there before I was booted out are supposed to be paid. Usually there's a payment advice, so you know that payment is going to be done, and then you receive, you have to receive a pay slip. It's normal practice everywhere. Now you are aware that I am not working with you any longer. So where do you send the payment advice? You have my private mail. Nothing is sent me. And I receive a notification from my bankers, and the amount has been halved. 50% was not paid. I'm told it was a mistake.
Well, let's see how that one goes. But you said that, you know, when you were re-engaged, there was no written contract between you and the High Commission. You also mentioned, for the sake of relationship, trust, and all of that, you had worked with them for quite some time, and so you didn't really feel there was the need for you to wait until all the documentations or everything had been done.
Plus, they had deadlines to meet.
Exactly. So you knew, you trusted them out of trust. You were waiting for them to do the right thing regarding your re-engagement. Do you think you faltered in that area?
Harriet, people ask me this, but I have no regret believing them, trusting them, showing good faith, because that's what I stand for. It's, however, regrettable that they could not honor their part of the bargain. Because when I went in, everything they wanted me to do, I have done it.
But in this case, there is nothing. Oral contract. So that is what all there is. Oral contract.
No, so
oral agreements between you and then the High Commission. Is that right? So what do you have? What's the evidence? Do you have anything to say that this is what we agreed on?
There are mail exchanges.
Will that be enough?
On record. Well, these are official communication. So if we had no agreement, on what basis were they paying me? You can't just get up, walk into a high commission, be doing anything and get paid. On what basis was a high commission paying me at my old level?
From January, February, March, April, May, June, July, until August 8.
Yes. On what basis were they paying me? There was no agreement.
You were receiving salaries, all this.
It's on record. And I have documentation to support that. If you pay me, it goes into my account, isn't it? Yeah, so I have records.
Esther, listening to Mercy speak on this issue, very unfortunate. I don't think we should have gotten here because Australia has a long-standing relation with Ghana. Both countries work in so many areas. Mercy is not a diplomat, a local staff. Do you think this case would get anywhere?
I think it's important that we talk about narrative. When we talk about local staff versus diplomacy, sometimes we say those terms as if the person who is of local staff is some small person, a bee in the corner, who can just be treated anyhow. And what we have to recognize is that within the world of diplomacy, locality is king, queen, and everything. Because you're part of a nation's culture. And that culture is dominated by an entire people, all of whom are local, thousands and millions. And so when you engage with the culture in which the nation is based, everything and everybody is local. But that locality is what's giving you work and a job. The other thing that's important to recognize, again, individuals are part of institutions. So whatever the back and forth of the detail, our work is saying that as an institution, the Australian High Commission, that has an entire set of beliefs and ideas about what it means to engage and respect the nation that they're in, the culture, their set of ideas, their set of behaviors. To what extent does this behavior honor who they say they are? Because when you get into the detail and the minutiae, you can end up scrambling and wrangling. But if you think about ideas of integrity, culture, how individuals work within institutions, what is your structural culture in this space? And how do you stand up and uphold the values that you espouse and that you claim? Right. And so with our work, emotional justice, we're always going into spaces and saying that every individual who works with you is symptomatic of a culture. And you may indeed have policies that commit you to zero tolerance of discriminatory behavior, zero tolerance of exploitation, that you open your arms for diversity and inclusion, all this language. But how you treat the people you engage is the real measure of who you are as a nation and who you are as a space and a people. So the question for the Australian High Commission is always, I'm going to come back to it again and again, is who do you say you are when it comes to Ghana? Does this sit with who you said you are when it comes to your history, your values? And, you know, policy tells one story about who you are, but this experience is a narrative that tells another side of the story that is ugly. And the question is, how will you engage that ugliness to restore the relationship in the eyes now of Ghana? Because this is now a public conversation. Yes. It's a public narrative. And the narrative has folks looking at you, questioning you, and asking this question: who does Australia say it is when it comes to the treatment of local people? And the fact that there's been the kind of back and forth that there's been is symptomatic of how sometimes those in power think they can deal with those who they perceive don't have power. And that relationship to power has a big role in how people behave badly or well. So moving forward, thinking about healing, thinking about racial healing. What is Australia's relationship in terms of blackness? What is Australia's relationship in terms of Africa? What is Australia's relationship in terms of fairness, in terms of justice, in terms of rectifying when something has gone wrong? What is Australia's relationship to accountability? And how does it manifest that in the Ghanaian context when this scenario, a scenario such as this, has come up? How it answers and gauges all of those questions is its work right now. And the mistake, not just this mission, but too many institutions make, is that the way to evade or avoid accountability is to either start to rubbish the name of the person making the allegation, or to start to do what we call gather smoke and mirrors, to say we have this massive gathering, we're now dealing with the issue, when you know there is a more direct way to do the kind of healing that would both resolve the issue, restore your reputation, and engage according to your levels, your ideals, and your values. What will the Australian High Commission do? The ball is very firmly in its court.
Right, so the ball is very firmly in this court. I hear you. Mercy,
Hi.
What do you want? What do you want?
I want the Australian High Commission to come clean, to admit that they have wronged me. I want them to apologize. I want them to compensate me for the level I have worked. Because all this while, I was being paid at my old level, pending the adjustment, the new adjustment. The trauma and everything I have gone through, I need compensation for that. And that's what I want them to do, to show that respect, to admit that they were wrong, pay me what is due me because I worked my fingers to the bone for them.
All right. Thank you so much for coming. It's exactly 5 o'clock.
Really?
Yes. So, you see, I think we should have, maybe you should come back again, but since we still have events unfolding, I know we will get the opportunity to engage you again on diplomatic affairs. And, let me state that I contacted the Australian High Commission, like I already mentioned, and they, according to them, they would talk at the right time. So hopefully I'm ready to provide them my platform whenever they are ready, just so we can hear their side of the story as well, if they want to talk and share with the public. I hope that you get the justice that you are looking for, and I'm very grateful that you made time to be here. Esther, we have work to do, and I'm excited that you are, of course, championing this particular agenda and emotional justice. So I'm happy that we have an institution of this kind to come in when the need be. So we will be here anytime we have to at least educate the public so they get to know their rights and all the nitty-gritties around emotional justice, when it comes to your institution.
And thank you so much. And thank you to you, Harriet, for building a platform where diplomacy meets the media, and that we as an audience gets a chance to be educated about the world of diplomacy through a journalist who's doing the work in a thorough, thoughtful, and thought-provoking way as you do. So thank you to you.
And thank you very much, Harriet. I'm grateful for this platform. It contributes to my healing.
Thank you very much. We hope that the need for, we will get the results that we want at the end of the day. So we are here for you. Mercy Catherine Agyabeng is a former public affairs and events manager. It's very interesting when I have to say it this way, of the Australian High Commission. She no longer works with them, obviously, and that has been the focus on today's edition of Diplomatic Affairs. And Esther A Armah is the CEO of the Armah Institute of Emotional Justice, also coming on the show to help us understand really what the Institute of Emotional Justice does, so we can appreciate them better. And of course, you know where to go in case you have any issues around that area. Esther is here, so please follow her on Twitter. Mercy is on Twitter, Instagram, and on Facebook. And we will be following the story keenly and bring you all the latest right here. So like I said, we are here if the Australian High Commission also wants to tell us their side of the story. Our platforms would be made available for them to appear and tell us their side of the story. I hope quiet diplomacy works in this case. So thank you very much for coming. Thank you so much. And thank you also for tuning in to watch today's episode of Diplomatic Affairs. And I look forward to seeing you same time next week. My name is Harriet Nartey. Enjoy the weekend.
We are the only one doing. Uracare is the only
facility
one
here.
Facility doing the cardiac MRIs and spectroscopy like studies only in West Africa.